Good morning, traders, and welcome back. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday, great time with your family, and now it's time to get ready and sink in for the last trading month of the year. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for December 2nd, 2024. Well, how about we take a look at what happened overnight? If we take a look at Asian markets were mostly higher last night. Australia being up 0.14%, Nikkei was up 0.80%, India was up, Hong Kong was up, Shanghai was up. South Korea was the only one that had maybe just a little bit of downside yesterday, and they've got a big week of economic reports coming over there in the Asian markets. If we take a look at European markets this morning, we've got a little bit of a mix here this morning on European markets. The DAX is up 0.77%, the FTSE is up 0.12%, while the CAC is lower by 0.36%. And of course, there is that problem of Stellantis CEO resigning over there and creating a little bit of, uncertainty maybe in their markets. If we take a look at U.S. futures are down across the board, but just ever so slightly. At this very second, the Dow futures are down 33 points. The S&P 500 futures are down $8.50, and the NASDAQ futures are down $30 at this second. Not that that really matters, because a lot of times what we see is quite the push or the real build of energy going into the market open. Now, of course, we do have to remember that there is the distraction today of the Cyber Monday sales going on. And then, of course, there'll be a lot of folks traveling, trying to get back home after their holiday. So don't be surprised to see volumes be a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit of choppiness in the market as everyone returns and gets back into the swing of their work activity. Let's take a look at those bonds here this morning. Bond yields this morning coming in at just a slightly bit higher. The 2-year bond at 4.19, the 10-year is at 4.20, and the 30-year is at 4.38. If we take a look at gold this morning, well, we've got gold trying to push back up here in GLD, but honestly, gold futures are a little bit lower right now, down to $15.40 an ounce. Silver is down, copper, platinum, and palladium are all lower this morning, and I'm guessing that has something to do with the fact that the dollar is rising this morning on those little bit higher rates. If we take a look at oil also having a little bit of bullishness coming in this morning. If we take a look at XLE trying to push up just slightly here today. We have oil futures right now up, let's see, 77.5 dollar per barrel, so it's 68.77 per barrel. Now Brent is up at 72.62 a barrel, and if we take a look at natural gas dropping hard here this morning, down 19 cents. So very volatile here recently in natural gas. Taking a look at the crypto markets here this morning, well, we've got Bitcoin feeling a little bit of pressure, trying to rally into up around 99,000, and right now down $2,053 a coin, or 2.12%. Ether is also down substantially, down $109 a coin at 2.97% lower. So pretty substantial move there. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Monday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Hey, we're going to start this off with just something a little bit different because I do think it's important to recognize where we are in the market. First off, this is a very, very bullish chart here in the diamonds, looking very bullishly. And if we take a look at the other indexes, they're also looking pretty darn bullish. But one of the things we want to be paying attention to is the fact that we are very elevated here in the market. Our price to earnings ratio, as you can see here, they're stating this as strongly overvalued. And you can see at this point, we're 79.2% above the normal average of 20.4, which puts the S&P 500 above a 2 standard deviation above the norm. Now, keeping in mind, in August of 2022, we made it even higher. Let's watch that carefully here in that chart. And of course, this was back in the internet bubble when we really got crazy and went up 3 standard deviations. So watch that carefully. We are elevated. If we take a look at the Buffett indicator, which is the U.S. stock market against the gross domestic product, you can probably figure out here why Warren Buffett has a huge cash hoard in the market, because he doesn't see a whole lot of value. If we take a look at the Buffett indicator, we're in here at 208%. And if you take a look right here, that's approximately 66.62% above the historical trend. And we are reaching new record highs here in that evaluation of the Buffett indicator. So you can understand why he has been selling, being a net seller, seeing no value in the current market conditions. So kind of keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at these charts. And remember, we want to look at these charts without a bias. We want to look at them for what they are, not for what we want them to be. Now, excuse me, pardon me for the cough. If you take a look in here, we've got this nice little rally up here, and now we're getting a bit more of a rest, and we do probably need a bit more of a rest, a consolidation of some kind. And if not that, maybe even a little pullback to come back here to retest this trend. So keep an eye on that. If those bulls find inspiration, however, you can see it really wouldn't be all that hard for them to push right on through this resistance area in the chart to blue sky above. And every reason to believe that that is possible. We're in a very bullish market, and everyone is wondering if Santa Claus rally is going to show up this year, or maybe if we've already had it in the post-election rally. Now, keep an eye. If the bears were to find inspiration here today, you can see there's a little bit of a price support area right in there on the chart. Push back down below there would not be a major problem, and it wouldn't be a big surprise. What would be a little bit concerning is if we were to drop pretty hard and come straight back down into this price support and trend. Might find a little bit of concern if that were to occur. But again, that still maintains a bullish chart. It would only be a break of that trend and break of this support that would change that opinion on my account. Let's take a look at our SPY. SPY also very, very bullish chart. New record highs coming in here on Friday. Maybe a little tiny bit of rest in here. We could consolidate just a little bit out here toward this trend. That would not be any kind of a surprise if we were just to rest a little bit in here, rest sideways. But if those bulls find inspiration, every reason to believe they could push right on through new record highs. And that's one of the things the market loves. New record highs tend to bring new record highs until something finally breaks. We'll want to watch that pretty closely. Now, if those bears were to find inspiration, you can see our support here in the chart. That's where we would see potentially an attack down into here. And if that attack were to be strong enough to push on lower, we might test this area of price support, and of course testing in here on trend. And if that occurs, I don't see this as a bearish chart. It would only be if we drop below there. And if we take a look at our QQQ, QQQ also nice little bullish pattern coming in here with the Friday push to the upside. You can see we ran up here, we tested that resistance. We still haven't been able to really break through that island reversal that we created here, but we're banging on the door of it, trying to push on through. So if those bulls can find inspiration here today, popping up into here, then I would suggest that next level above is right up here. And then of course after that, blue skies above there in the QQQ. Now if the bears were to have anything to say about it, maybe a pushback down, testing this area price support, and that would be a challenge to this upside trend. We'd want to keep an eye on that because failure below here would probably add some stress in the overall market. So watch that carefully. And we want to remember, excuse me for my voice here this morning, we want to remember we still have that potential here of a lower high. So we are in this symmetrical triangle, a wedging pattern here that we'll want to be watching closely. A pop through, the bulls gain control. A breakdown here, the bears would be gaining control. So we're really close on that decision. And if we take a look at our let's take a look at our IWM. The Russell here, very, very bullish pattern, holding in a nice consolidation. Now it's possible this has become the upside trend, and we may have to rest a little bit more in here to come back over to trend. But it's also very possible if the bulls can find inspiration, that push through here could send us to new record highs in IWM. We've been struggling with that, haven't been able to really get up there and hold, but you can see a push through there could give us those new records. Now, there has been some articles this weekend discussing the idea that we're probably a little bit too carried away here in this bullishness in the post-election, and the worry that some sellers could come in here all of a sudden. So be careful, just be prepared if that were to occur. So if the bulls find that inspiration, new record highs, blue skies above there, and there's every reason to believe that's possible. If the bears were to find some inspiration here today, pushing down below this area, notice we'd have a gap in here that could be filled, and then we would start progressing maybe back down through this area of the chart. Watch that carefully if those bears were to come in. And of course, we would be wanting to watch carefully this new upside trend to see if that can hold in there. Let's take a look at our VIX. Now, the good news for the bulls is that we have no fear. The fear continues to pull back here. We're running around 13.5 handles here, setting right on that little area of price support in the chart. So if the bulls can continue to find that bullish inspiration in here to push on lower here, or push the markets higher, we would look for a breakdown into here. And of course, if we make that breakdown into here, then we can come right on down to this area here in price support down around the 12s. We do have a nice downtrend in play here on that, and there's every reason to believe that's possible. However, if those bulls were to find something to grab onto here and we were to push back up, maybe we start testing some of these areas of resistance in the chart, maybe just coming back up to test this downtrend. So keep an eye on that. If there's any kind of a profit-taking wave or anything like that in the market, that might be possible. Let's take a look at our T20s. Now, our T2122, this is a problem that we have been continuing to be pretty elevated here in T2122. And although we saw some new records on Friday, notice that our T2122 actually pulled back. Remember, this is the 4-week new high, new low ratio. Can't make this up. We're setting new record highs, and yet there were a few more stocks pulling back than going higher here on Friday. Interesting situation to be setting new record highs like that. Now, keeping an eye on this, if those bulls find inspiration here, we have opened an opportunity for them to push on through to the upside. So don't be surprised if that occurs. And if the bears were to find inspiration, well, we do know that we have opened a very big opportunity here for this. And one thing I want you to notice is that we can linger here in the upper ranges for some time. We can linger here, but we always eventually end up reaching that point where profit takers come in and we get that drawdown in the market. So just be prepared for that if it were to occur. And at T2108 on Friday made that turn to the upside, looking good in here, pushing up. Remember, when we reach up here in this area of the chart in T2108, we're going to run into some resistance, but we can go higher here in T2108 fairly easily and push on up here toward these mid 70s area before we're into a very overbought situation in T2108. So watch that closely. If the bears were to find some kind of inspiration, I don't know that there's a very big worry here because we've got some really good areas of price support underneath this. What we certainly can see here in the chart being well above 50%, the bulls are definitely in control. And then if we take a look at T2107, our T2107, we do have a little bit of a concern here. Once we reach up here into these mid 65 areas here, we're going to be in a very overbought situation up here. So we still have some upside room for those bulls to push, and clearly they're trying to break through this little resistance right in here. So if we can find that bullish inspiration, let's start looking for these areas up here, see if we can stretch on higher. But then we're going to be reaching kind of that extreme overbought situation. Now, if the bears were to find any kind of inspiration here and push this down, you can see we could catch a little bit of support in there. And even if we were to break a little bit lower, we've got some good support areas down in here. And we are clearly well above 50% here in this chart. So bulls are definitely holding on to that control. And then if we take a look at our T2101, we had Brett had this last week, had this really nice push back to the upside, but you will want to notice we left there on Friday with that little bit of a hook. It could just be because of the lack of volume on the day that we have that hook, but we'll want to be watching this area up in here. You can see we're reaching some of these peak points here in T2101 where we may have just pushed that breadth just a little bit too far. So watch carefully if it does start to pull back. We shouldn't be surprised anyway if it starts to pull back. If we take a look at our economic calendar here for today, well, our economic calendar, we've got a lot of jobs data coming our way this week that we'll be paying attention to. So first off, we're going to start off this week with a PMI manufacturing number, looking for the PMI manufacturing to come in at 48.8. That is flat over last time. We have seen some bad PMI data here recently, or some bad manufacturing data here recently. So watch that carefully. If this were to slip a little bit, that could be a problem, but watch that. And then if we've got, after that, we're going to have some ISM data. They're looking for ISM to improve to 47.6 from 46.5. The bulls might find some energy in that number. We've got construction spending numbers coming in. We're going to look at that going up to a 0.2 from a 0.1 here on construction spending, so keep an eye on those numbers. And then we have several Fed speakers here today with some bond auctions to be paying attention to. As you can see, Tuesday we're going to hit those job openings reports, some more Fed speak in here. On Wednesday, mortgage applications, ADP report will be in there. We've got factory orders, a PMI number, an ISM number. We've got petroleum status. Jerome Powell is going to be speaking on Wednesday, so several things going on there. We're going to get international trading goods and jobless claims on Thursday as normal. And then, of course, in the employment situation number coming here, one of the bigger numbers of the week on Friday morning, with a whole bunch of Fed speak this week. So kind of keep that in mind. As we take a look at our earnings calendar is really dropping off the number of earnings pretty substantially, so I don't have too many to cover for notables here today. We've got CRDO that will be reporting this morning, and ZS. Those are the two notables for this morning. This afternoon, BNS, CNM, and DCI. Those will be reporting this afternoon, so keep an eye on those reports for today. And unfortunately, we're really going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to have some good notable reports to move the market. But I think our biggest day here, in counting even all of the small caps, our biggest day is going to be on Thursday, which is 30 reports. So not a lot of inspiration when it comes to the earnings calendar, and which is normal this time of year. So keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you can do me this favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, well, you know what to do. Click that subscribe button on YouTube, and also click that bell icon when it pops up every time you when it pops up, so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And thank you so much to everyone who does take the time to do that. I do truly appreciate it. I know it gets monotonous doing this day after day, but it does help support the effort in putting these videos out every day. And I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who does that, shares shares these videos out on their social media feed, and then also for those of you who continue to support the channel through the Buy Me a Coffee link that's just below the title of the video. You guys are truly awesome, and thank you so much for the kind support. Let's take a look at some of these charts that could be setting up. Remember, everyone, they're not recommendations for any buying or selling of any security. You've got to do your own due diligence and be very, very careful in the market. And sorry for my voice here. Apparently, just a little bit of dry, cold weather has given me a little bit of hoarseness this morning. Let's take a look at some of these stocks and see how they are faring. So first off, take a look at DKNG. Placed an alert here on DKNG, and it's popped up in here. I wasn't going to buy this right at the end of the week heading into the holiday, but keep an eye on this. I think this is a very, very bullish pattern, and that opportunity that DKNG may push right on through to the upside. I do think that's something worth paying attention to. Valero could be interesting. Had this little pullback in here, but notice we're holding this support. Little pop and drop here in the pre-market on this, but I still want to keep this on the list, looking for that opportunity that we might find that bullishness and push on through here. We're seeing with the tensions maybe easing over there in the Middle East on that ceasefire, that perhaps we might relieve some of that pressure here in oil and refining, so watch that closely. Take a look at CAR. CAR continues to look very good here. Avis, if you can see my last alert right in here, we popped on through, and then we broke through this resistance, and then we just decided we needed to rest a little bit more. But you'll notice in here we're coming right out into trend, and a pretty good opportunity that may stretch right on through to the upside. When we're speaking cars, take a look at Carvana. This continues to show lots and lots of bullishness. If we pull this back, you'll notice we're going to run into some resistance here in that chart, but very, very bullish and continuing to push to the upside, trying to show lots and lots of upside bullishness. Now, we cannot say the same for Ford here, but Ford has been trying to push through this resistance area in the chart. You can see up here we're banging our head against this, knocking on the door, trying to see if we can get through. And if you take a look right in here, if we go off these lows, well, we might be right at about the point here on that trend. If we can find some bullish inspiration in the market, look for that opportunity that Ford may push on through to the upside. And General Motors, although it popped and dropped pretty hard here the other day, still holding in here on some support. If we can get a little stability coming here in the market, there may be that opportunity that can move on higher. Let's take a look at a little bit of the big tech area here. Boy, I got to tell you, AMD still looks to me like a potential short. We've been moving in this down move. We tried to pop above the downtrend here, just really couldn't hold onto it. So watch that carefully. If this were to break down below here, there may be more downside coming here in AMD. Take a look at Google. Google also putting in a possible lower high. Notice that we've rallied back up after the federal government came out and said they want them to sell off Chrome. Because of their monopoly status in the area. So watch that carefully here. We may just be coming into that next rollover period here for the downside in Chrome. Certainly can't say that for Meta, that it's falling apart, but there is a little bit of a question here. We have tried multiple times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times to break through that resistance up there. We're still trying to push this back up, but watch this area right in here as we push into that resistance. If there's any hint of a failure that shows up here in Meta, I would be watching for that possible lower high in that chart. Now, Microsoft has also been pushing back up into its downtrend and price resistance here. We'll want to watch that closely. If it can find enough bullish inspiration and push on through, then all of my worries here about that potential sell-off are gone. But if we were to continue to see weakness here and start to roll over, breaking this little upside trend here could be pretty ugly for that downside move coming in Microsoft. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at a few other places here in the market. I've been talking about Bumble here for a long time. Bumble coming up out of that downtrend, nice little resting consolidation here, pull back to trend, moves on up. It's trying to break through this resistance here in the chart, but you can see we still have a very bullish pattern setting up in here, and that opportunity that can push on up and just continue to follow this trend to the upside. I would keep an eye on that. I still like the way Intel is potentially setting up here, even though it's been removed from the index and replaced by NVIDIA. This really hasn't sold off all that much. Nice little resting consolidation out here toward the trend. So if we can get some bullish inspiration in the market, look for that opportunity for that maybe to push on through to the upside. So watch that closely. Disney continues to show lots of bullishness, a big stretch to the upside here in Disney, pushing up here to a fairly significant area of price resistance. I'd be watching that carefully. Every reason to believe that could continue. Before I could be a buyer in here, this needs to rest a little bit. So keep an eye on Disney as well. Showing those opportunities here coming around. If you take a look at Roku, big question here on this guy. There is that possibility of this little downtrend in here could find that little rollover here. Now, I know Black Friday sales are going to be really important to them. They tend to do a big business on Black Friday selling their equipment at a discount, but watch that carefully here if we don't get the sales that we were hoping for overall in this Black Friday sales environment. Micron is another one I'm a little bit worried about here. You can see we made a lower high right here at downtrend resistance in that chart. If we were to break down below here, watch out for Micron to move on lower. So there's a few charts for you to pay attention to. I want to wish you all a fantastic day in your trading. Thanks so much for listening and being here. Thanks for putting up with my little congestion here this morning. I want to wish you all of the best, and I will see you right back here bright and early Tuesday morning. Have a great day.